So, hello, Neet aspirants. My name is Ahana, and today I'm going to explain this chapter neural control and coordination line by line, reading it and clarifying everything. So, let us begin with the chapter without any further delay. Neural control and coordination. The heading speaks it clear that this chapter is going to tell us about the neural system of the body of humans, as well as the starting part would also tell about the neural system of earlier, like the Coelenterata, sponges, that phylum as well. So let us begin. We are going to see these topics as it's clear. First, the neural system, then the human neural system, then neuron as a structural and functional unit of life. And we are going to see the central neural system, then reflex, action, and arc. This topic is deleted, so we are not going to see this. So let us begin. As you know, the functions of organs or organ system in our body must be coordinated to maintain the homeostasis. So what does homeostasis mean? So this means balance. Coordination is the process. Achha, wait. Okay. Coordination is the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the functions of one another. This is also a very important line. Coordination is the process through which two or more organs interact and complement the functions of one another. This means that two or more organs are working together to enhance each other's functions. For example, when we do the physical exercises, the energy demand is increased for maintaining an increased muscular activity. So the supply of oxygen is also increased. So here our respiratory system would work. The increased supply of oxygen necessitates an increase in the rate of respiration, heartbeats, and increase blood flow via blood vessels. So here clearly it is seen that three systems are working. First is the respirational system, then the heart rate, yani ki your cardio system, and then there is your blood system. When physical exercise is stopped, the activities of nerves, lungs, heart, kidney gradually return to their normal condition. Thus, the function of muscles, lungs, heart, blood vessels, kidney, and other organs are coordinated while performing physical exercises. In our body, the neural system and the endocrine system jointly coordinates and integrates all the activities of the organs so that they can function in a synchronized fashion. This is also a very, very important line. So, this part, integrate and coordinate. It's a very important line which says that the neural system as well as endocrine system are working all together to coordinate and integrate. That means uh, it helps in performing the activities of each and every organ and cells, ठीक है, to perform in a synchronized fashion. That means if I'm running, so I need to perform two three activities which may be coordinated by the function of my respiratory system as well as the blood vessel system. So it means about that key your neural system as well as endocrine system both jointly works, coordinates and integrates all the activities for the functioning in a synchronized manner. If you don't know, so our endocrine system is actually the hormonal system which releases the hormone. The neural system provides an organized network of point to point connection for a quick coordination. This is also very important. Neural system is a point to point connection for the coordination, whereas the endocrine system provides chemical integration through the hormones. See, in this chapter, you will learn about the neural system of the human, mechanism of the neural coordination like transmission of the nerve impulse, impulse conduction across the synapse, and the physiology of reflex action. So, neural system. The neural system of animal is composed of highly specialized cells called as neurons, which can detect, receive, transmit different kinds of stimuli. So there is this, let's say, so it is DRT. We have to remember this by DRT. That means DRT. This means detect, receive, and transmit. Have to remember this. This is also an important thing that we can be asked in Neet that neurons can do what, and they'll give this function as well as they'll give all of the above. So you have to say that it can detect, receive, and transmit the different kinds of stimuli. What is stimulus? The stimulus is basically the change in the environment. Neural organization is very simple in lower invertebrates. This is also an important example that the neural organization is very simple in lower invertebrates. It's basically, let us see the example, we'll get it more clear. The hydra, it is composed of the network of neurons, just the network of neurons. There is no brain, there is no spinal cord, nothing like that. The neural system is better organized in insects, like they have a brain, also they have a number of ganglia and the neural tissues. So we gotta remember this that there is not only brain and ganglia, there is also the neural tissue. There are three things over here. In insects, there is three things they have said, which is the brain, ganglia, and the neural tissue. The vertebrates have more developed neural system. As we know, we are also vertebrates, so we have a more developed neural system. Then we got to see this human neural system. The main chapters now beginning. The human neural system is divided into two parts: the central neural system and the peripheral nervous system. The CNS includes the brain and the spinal cord and is the site of the information processing and control. So we just have to mark what I'm marking over here. If I'm marking the central nervous system from the highlighter, you should also mark it in your book, as it's important to memorize these keywords for the exams and the test and the NEET. So here it says that the CNS, that means the central neural system, has or includes brain and spinal cord where the information is processed and controlled. PNS comprises of all the nerves of the body associated with the CNS, like brain and spinal cord. The nerve fibers of the PNS are of two types. There is the afferent fibers and the efferent fibers. The afferent fibers transmits the impulses from tissues organ to CNS, and efferent fibers transmit regulatory impulses from the CNS to concerned peripheral tissue or organ. So here it is said that afferent fibers, which is also called as sensory neurons. Please avoid my handwriting because I'm trying it for the first time over here. And the efferent one means the motor. So afferent neuron, what it does that it brings the information or transmit the impulses from the tissue or the organ where the receptors are there, which sensed the information and brings it to the brain. So if the question comes that what is the role of afferent nerve fibers or sensory neuron, you have to just say that they carry impulses from the tissue or the organ to the CNS, and the opposite is the efferent fibers that takes the information from the CNS to the tissue or the organ concerned peripheral tissue or organ. You have to remember this too, that it is said concerned peripheral tissue, also regulatory impulses. Okay? You have to remember this, that there is said that they should be regulatory impulses as well as concerned peripheral tissue. Because every line of NCRT is very important according to Neet. The PNS is divided into two divisions: somatic neural system and autonomic neural system. The somatic neural system relays impulses from CNS to skeletal muscle, while the autonomic neural system transmits the impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organs, and classified into sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So this is very important, that sympathetic and parasympathetic. So what is said over here, I'll just say, let me, okay, see, our PNS is divided furtherly into two parts. One is your somatic neural system, SNS, and then there is your ANS, that is your autonomic nervous system. Further, this autonomic neural system is of two types, which is your sympathetic neural system and parasympathetic neural system. So, see, our somatic nervous system helps in transmitting the impulses to the voluntary organs of the body, and the autonomic nervous system helps in transmitting the impulses from the CNS to the involuntary organs of the body. That means to the smooth muscles of the body. And this voluntary action control करता है, so it would transmit the impulses to the skeletal muscles of the body. Now smooth muscles are present when, so in the alimentary canal the peristalsis movement occurs. Then there is our in the fallopian tube there is smooth muscles. So at there the system works in the ANS. Also we have learned in the excretory products and its elimination that the uh, smooth muscles are present in the urinary bladder. So the autonomic nervous system gives the order accordingly to that part, so as to control the urination, right? So yeah. So let's see this. Neuron as a structural and a functional unit of neural system. यार यहाँ पे अच्छे कलर्स तो नहीं है. A neuron is a microscopic structure composed of three major parts. These are cell body, dendrites, and axon. The cell body consists of the cytoplasm with the typical cell organelle contain granular bodies called as nasal granules. So what is these nasal granules? See, nasal granules are nothing but ER plus ribosomes. So this actually make proteins just sent to the axon terminal, and in response to that these proteins actually work as the neurotransmitters. We'll see about that later. Mm, 10 minutes. So further, it has said that a neuron is a microscopic structure which is composed of three parts: cell body, dendrite, and axon. So the cell body is consists of the cytoplasm, which have typical cell organelles and certain granular bodies. These are the basal granule, which is nothing but ER plus ribosomes, which synthesize the proteins. Short fibers, which sorry, let's erase this out. Short fibers which branch repeatedly and projects out of the cell body also contains the nasal granules and accodanite. The question might come or appear that nasal granules are present where? So we have to say that it is present in both cell body and dendrite. Okay. These fibers transmit the impulses towards the cell body. Then there is this. The axon is a long fiber, the distal end of which is branched. Distal means far. This means far. All of these lines are very important. Okay, by the way, a point we have missed over here is sympathetic neural system does three or helps in three situations. So it is 3F condition over here we have seen. What are these 3F conditions? So first is fight. Second is flight. Third is fear. So the sympathetic nervous system helps in these three conditions where we have to fight, where we have to run away, that means flight, and when we are facing some fear of ours, so that time this work. At that time, this system helps in increasing the heartbeats, in increasing the respiratory rates, basically everything. It increases the conversion of glycogen into the glucose, so as our muscle requirements we overcome, and it helps in coping up with the emergency situations as well. Parasympathetic nervous system also does known as rest and digest. One more thing इस एनसीईआरटी में नहीं दिया है, that is visceral neural system. Visceral neural system, VNS. This is nothing but, see, I'll read it. It's in my book. It is the part of the peripheral nervous system that comprises the whole complex of nerves, fibers, ganglia, and plexus. Plexus is nothing but the basically nerves. They are a group of nerves by which the impulses travel from the CNS to the viscera and from viscera to CNS. Basically, involuntary organs तक लेके जाता है ये information. Involuntary organs का regulation. इनवॉलेंट्री बोलो या फिर इंटरनल बोलो, एक ही बात है भाई इस जगह पे. Now let's continue. Each branch terminates as a bulb-like structure called a synaptic knob, which possesses synaptic vesicle containing chemicals called neurotransmitters. The axon transmit nerve impulses away from the cell body to a synapse or the neuromuscular junction based on the number of axon and dendrites. This is also a very important thing. Because we will know the classification that it is multipolar, bipolar, unipolar, but on which basis they have did it? So on the basis of number of axon and the dendrite. On the basis of number of axon and dendrite, we have classified the neurons into three types. Okay, that's also very important that we have classified into three types. Multipolar with the one axon and two or more dendrite found in cerebral cortex. Bipolar with one axon and one dendrite found in the retina of the eye. Very important. It's a PYQ. And unipolar cell body with one axon only found in embryonic stage. So this forms PYQs of many years. Okay. Basically, इसके बाद भी there is two types further, which is not described here, but there are it. But you should remember about these three because it is given in the NCRT and it is according to the number of axon and dendrites. Further on this basis only is divided into two more, that is your apolar and second is pseudo unipolar. Now, how did I write it? Okay, just remember pseudo unipolar. Okay, unipolar neuron. These are further two types, but इसमें से ज़्यादा पूछा नहीं जाता है. So apolar neuron की अगर मैं बात करूँ, so it is present in the lower invertebrates, lower invertebrates, and the pseudounipolar is present in the dorsal root ganglia of spinal cord. So as the spinal cord is not in our syllabus now, but it was, so if it would have been over there, so would have learned about it. Still, the question has been asked, I guess, in recent years. Also, my teacher also taught me this. Dorsal root ganglia. Sorry about the noise. Dorsal ganglia of here. Okay, it's very difficult to write it with this. There are two types of axon, mainly myelinated and non-myelinated. The myelinated nerve fibers enveloped with the Schwann cell, which forms myelin sheath around the axon. The gap between the two adjacent myelin sheaths are called as node of Ranvier. Myelinated nerve fibers are found in spinal and cranial nerves. Unmyelinated nerve fiber is enclosed by Schwann cell that does not form myelin sheath around the axon and is commonly found in the autonomous and the somatic nervous system. Very important. Very important. See, Schwann cells are present in both myelinated as well as non-myelinated neurons, but Schwann cell forms the myelin sheath in the myelinated neuron and not in the non-myelinated one. Node of Ranvier would be present in which one? It is the gap between the two myelin sheath, right? So it must be present in the myelinated neuron only. Then spinal and cranial nerves, both they are found in unmyelinated neuron are enclosed by a Schwann cell, but they do not have myelin sheath, as well as they are found in autonomous and somatic nervous system. Very important over here. So, also, what does myelin sheath performs? So now, if this is our suppose this is this neuron is this, and we have this myelin sheath. We can see over here, right? This is dendrite. This is mesial granule. Then this is your cell body. This whole structure. यहाँ पे there is here one structure. I didn't mark it. It's known as something. I guess. Right. I wrote it somewhere. I'll mention it down in the comments what it is. Then यहाँ पे this long tube-like structure is your axon. This is the axon terminal. This is the synaptic knobs. And यहाँ पे in this synaptic knob there must be synaptic vesicle, and in it there must be the neurotransmitters. These are Schwann cells. This myelin sheath. Now the myelin sheath, if this electric impulse come now, so it doesn't. Myelin sheath is actually insulated. It won't let electrical impulse travel through it. So the nerve impulse will directly jump on this part. So this is way more easier and way more faster way to carry the nerve neuro electrical impulses, right? So that's why if they ask which of the above can conduct the nerve impulses faster, so the answer would be myelin axon is a myelinated neuron. Also, your question must be that autonomic या फिर somatic nervous system में why there is non-myelinated axon या फिर neuron. So answer to this question is that the basically at that part it controls the internal organs, right? So internal organs should be cared very uh, they should be cared with very, they're delicate. So the impulses can be slow, can be faster. It depends. Actually, the regulation is slow and steady to keep the internal organs more safe. Like if the nerve impulse was faster towards the heart, and the heart started to beat very very fast according to the nerve impulse. So it must cause some damage, right? Like hypertension. So that's why autonomic and somatic nervous system have non-myelinated axon. I think I have cleared this. Don't know about it, but I think I have cleared it very well. Now, generation and conduction of the nerve impulse. We will do till this part, and then I'll finish this video. We'll see more in the next part. Neurons are excitable cell because this is important. They are excitable cell. One more cell which is excitable in our body is the muscle cell. Because the membrane are polarized states. Do you know why the membrane of a neuron is polarized and different type of ion channels are present on the neural membrane? These ion channels are selectively permeable to differential. Uh, it's not differential. It's different ions. When a neuron is not conducting any impulse, which means it's in resting state, the axonal membrane is comparatively more permeable for potassium and nearly impermeable for sodium. Similarly, the membrane is completely never impermeable to the negatively charged ion present in the exoplasm. Consequently, the exoplasm inside the axon contain high concentration of potassium and negatively charged protein and low concentration of the sodium. In contrast, the fluid outside axon contains uh, a low concentration of potassium and a high concentration of sodium and thus form a concentration gradient. These ionic gradient across the resting membrane are mainly by the active transport of the ions by the sodium potassium pump which transport three sodium ion outwards and two potassium ion inwards. As a result, the outer surface of the axonal membrane possesses a positive charge, while in its inner surface becomes the negatively charged and therefore polarized. The electrical potential difference across the resting membrane is called as the resting potential. So what it is said over here. So first of all, neuron is an excitable cell. Now, due to why it is excitable cell? Because its membrane is polarized. Now, what does it mean? It has charge across it. It has many ion channels. Okay, the membrane or the ion channels are selectively permeable for different ions. Now, when a neuron is not conducting an impulse, that means it is the resting state of it. The axonal membrane is impermeable for the negatively charged ion, nearly impermeable. This is a very important thing. I want to mark it very well. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Nearly impermeable. A very important thing. यहाँ पे ये नहीं बोला है कुछ impermeable. It said nearly impermeable. ठीक है? So that means that in the resting state, potassium ion is pura permeable Sodium is nearly impermeable and negatively charged is completely impermeable. Consequently, the exoplasm inside the axon have a higher concentration of potassium and negatively charged ion. That means उसमें negative charge होगा. And in बाहर, in contrast to it, बाहर ज़्यादा sodium ions होंगे, right? क्योंकि अंदर sodium ions are very कम and बाहर that means ज़्यादा होगा. So it forms a concentration gradient, right? अब बाहर sodium is more, so plus sign आएगा positive चार्ज आता है बाहर एंड अंदर देयर इज नेगेटिव चार्ज ड्यू टू द नेगेटिव चार्ज प्रोटीन्स. ठीक है, सो दस इट फॉर्म्स द कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ग्रेडियंट. अब इसकी वजह से टू बैलेंस दिस कॉन्सेंट्रेशन ग्रेडियंट, क्योंकि इसका लीकी चैनल जो होता है एक्सॉन का इट इज कंटिन्यूसली ओपन. सो टू बैलेंस दिस, क्योंकि अंदर बाहर कुछ भी हो सकता है कि पोटाशियम परमिएबल है तो बाहर चला गया, सोडियम इज नियरली इम्परमिएबल मतलब थोड़ा सा तो आ ही सकता है. सो ड्यू टू विच सोडियम पोटाशियम पंप वर्क्स ओवर here which throws three sodium outside and gets in two potassium, and due to this results in the positive charge outwards and negative charge inwards. And इसमें the electrical potential difference across this membrane is the resting potential. This is हम हमेशा अंदर वाली जो ना एग्जाम के अंदर जो चार्ज है उसको काउंट करेंगे अकॉर्डिंग एंड ऑल्सो इट्स साइन. सो इट्स ऑलमोस्ट -70 millivolt. You might be curious to know about the mechanism of the generation of the nerve impulse and its conduction along an axon. When a stimulus is applied at a site on the polarized membrane, the membrane at the site becomes freely permeable to Na+. That means the sodium gated channels are open now. This leads to the rapid influx of sodium followed by the reversal of the polarity at that site. The outer surface becomes negatively charged and the inner becomes positively charged. अब आप ही बताओ मेरे को. If this is the membrane, यहाँ पे negatively charged था अब तक, अभी भी अंदर नेगेटिव ही है, पर अब बाहर ऑलरेडी इसमें पॉजिटिव भी तो था पोटेशियम का, अब बाहर से और थोड़ा सा प्लस आ रहा है, पॉजिटिव आ रहा है, तो अब यहाँ पे पॉजिटिव ज़्यादा है नेगेटिव से. दैट मीन्स दैट इज़ वाई अब यहाँ पे नेगेटिव चार्ज आने लगेगा और यहाँ पे पॉजिटिव चार्ज आने लगेगा. इट डजंट मीन कि यहाँ पे ज़ीरो हो जाएगा, इट मीन्स कि यहाँ पे नेगेटिवली चार्ज आ जाएगा और बाहर अंदर की तरफ पॉजिटिव चार्ज आ जाता है. The polarity of the membrane at that site is thus reversed and hence depolarized. इस condition को हम depolarization बोलते हैं. When अंदर की तरफ is positive and बाहर की तरफ is negative, the electrical potential difference across the membrane at that site is called as action potential. Action potential होता है positive का 35. As I said ना कि अंदर वाले को ही हम हमेशा काउंट करते हैं. अब अंदर पॉजिटिव है तो हम पॉजिटिव लेंगे 35 millivolts, which in fact termed as the nerve impulse. इसी को हम nerve impulse भी बोलते हैं. At sites immediately ahead of the axon, membranes have positive charge on the outer surface and negative charge on its inner surface. As a result, the current flows inner surface from A to B site on the outer surface from B to A sites to complete the circuit of the current flow. Hence, the polarity at the site is reversed and action potential is generated to the B. Thus, the impulse generated at A arrives at B. The sequence is repeated along the length of the axon and consequently the impulse is conducted. The rise in the stimulus induced permeability to Na plus is extremely short-lived. It is quickly followed by the rise in permeability to the potassium, within a fraction of second, potassium diffuses out of the membrane and restores the resting potential of the membrane at the site of the excitation, and the fibers becomes more responsive to the further stimulation. So here क्या बोला गया है, जो लास्ट पार्ट मैंने नहीं बोला अभी, देखो यहाँ पे दिस इज द साइट ए, दिस इज द साइट बी। अब यहाँ पे देखो बोला क्या है, यदि हम नर्वस बोलते इतना तो हमने समझ लिया। अब यहाँ पे आप देखोगे कि अंदर की तरफ जो नेगेटिव चार्ज था वो अब यहाँ पे पॉजिटिव है, यहाँ पे अभी भी नेगेटिव है। हमेशा हमेशा करंट जो है इट वुड फ्लो फ्रॉम पॉजिटिव टू नेगेटिव। सो एक ये पूरा एक्सॉन है, दिस इज एक्सॉन। सो अब यहाँ पे देखो ये नेगेटिव है, सो ये तो फ्लो करेगा नहीं किसी भी डायरेक्शन में, तो पॉजिटिव से नेगेटिव करंट फ्लो कर जाएगा। ऑलरेडी यहाँ पे करंट वैसे भी नहीं था, बट यहाँ पे जो करंट है इट वुड फ्लो फ्रॉम द पॉजिटिव टू नेगेटिव। यहाँ पर भी सेम होगा, पॉजिटिव आयंस इधर आने लगेंगे, नेगेटिव आयंस वैसे के वैसे ही रहेंगे बेसिकली, है कि नहीं। तो जस्ट रिमेंबर दिस कि पॉजिटिव से नेगेटिव करंट फ्लो करता है, पॉजिटिव से नेगेटिव चार्ज पे आपका जो है अट्रैक्शन होता है। अब इसकी वजह से जो होगा क्या कि जो सोडियम आयंस जो अंदर आ रहे थे ना वो वेरी शॉर्ट लिव्ड था, मतलब वो जो एक्टिविटी हो रही थी कि सोडियम अंदर आने लग गए हैं वो ख़त्म हो जाएगी। बेसिकली इट वॉज वेरी वेरी शॉर्ट लिव्ड कि सोडियम अंदर आ रहा है। इसी को क्विकली इसी के पीछे पीछे फॉलो होता है पोटेशियम की परमेबिलिटी कंट्रोल करना। जैसे ही आपका सोडियम अंदर गया, जस्ट इन अ फ्रैक्शन ऑफ सेकेंड आपका जो पोटेशियम है वो अंदर ज़्यादा था, अब वो बाहर आ जाएगा। सोडियम का इनफ्लक्स हुआ था, अब पोटेशियम का जो है ई फ्लक्स होगा, एफ्लक्स होगा, ठीक है, बाहर। अब इससे क्या होगा कि बाहर पॉजिटिव चार्ज आ जाएगा, जैसे मैंने बोला आपको कि पॉजिटिव से नेगेटिव के पास जाता है, ये भी इधर आएगा। अब बाहर पॉजिटिव आएगा ना, मतलब यहाँ पर भी पॉजिटिव चाहिए, बस इतू सही है, बस प्लस दो दो करके थोड़ी आएगा। इसको भी यहाँ पे लाना है आपको, पॉजिटिव आयंस को एज वेल एज अंदर का पोटेशियम भी हम बाहर डालेंगे टू मेंटेन द होम्योस्टेसिस, टू मेंटेन द चार्ज, ठीक है। So that's why potassium out बाहर चला जाएगा in within a fraction of seconds. That's a very important line though. Let's mark it. It's important है कि within a fraction of second आपका potassium भी बाहर चला जाएगा to maintain the charges, and it would restore the resting potential once again. ठीक है, for the excitation of the other impulses that would come, that will follow it, and the fiber becomes once more responsive to the other stimulation. That's it. इतना ही था। And I know it's actually difficult क्योंकि मेरे लिए भी it was difficult to remember कि कैसे होता है ये सब, but now it's easy. Now we'll see एक concept होता है कि threshold stimulus का। Basically छोटा सा concept है, threshold stimulus। बेसिकली देखिए आप, देर इज द रेस्टिंग पोटेंशियल इज -70, राइट। अब इस पे हाउ मच द इम्पल्स और हाउ मच द इम्पल्स दैट कम थ्रू डेंड्राइट, हाउ मच दिस have the voltage that it would stimulus the, it would open the sodium gated channel to let the sodium influx happen. So this is basically माइनस का 55 मिलीवोल्ट, ओके, माइनस का 55 मिलीवोल्ट। एंड ऑल्सो देर इज वन मोर थिंग कि आपका जो पोटेशियम बाहर गया था विथ ऑन आउटसाइड, दैट पोटेशियम चैनल can be kept open for a bit लॉन्गर ड्यू टू विच आपका पोटेशियम जो है वो आउटसाइड ज़्यादा जाता जाएगा. दैट टाइम जो आपका पोटेंशियल होगा ऑफ द मेम्ब्रेन इट वुड बी माइनस का 90 millivolt. This condition is known as hypopolarized. This is hyperpolarized. Hyperpolarized. This membrane over here is hyperpolarized membrane. So basically, it's very important. Okay. So the last topic we are going to study is the transmission of the impulses. Should we study the whole chapter? We can do it. There's no good color in this. So transmission of impulses. Wow. Transmission of Okay. Transmission of impulses. A nerve impulse is transmitted from one neuron to the another through junctions called synapses. Very important over here. These junctions are called as synapses. A synapse is formed by the membrane of a presynaptic neuron and postsynaptic neuron, which may or may not be separated by a gap called a synaptic cleft. There are two types of synapses, namely electrical synapse and chemical synapse. At electrical synapse and the membrane of the pre and the postsynaptic neurons are in very close proximity. Electrical current can flow directly from one neuron to another neuron. Transmission of an impulse across the electrical synapses is very similar to the impulse conduction along a single axon. Impulse transmission across an electrical synapse is always faster than that of the across the electric chemical synapse. Electrical synapses are rare in the body system. See, it's very easy topic. So see, what is a synapse? Basically, आपका जो नर्व इम्पल्स है ये एक न्यूरॉन से दूसरे न्यूरॉन में अभी तो हमने पढ़ लिया कि एक न्यूरॉन में कैसे उसने ट्रांसमिट किया राइट बट फ्रॉम वन न्यूरॉन टू अनदर कैसे करेगा सो इट हैपन्स थ्रू साइनैप्स दीज आर जंक्शंस बिटवीन द टू न्यूरॉन्स साइनैप्स इज व्हाट कि प्री सिनेप्टिक मीन्स पहले वाला फर्स्ट न्यूरॉन एंड पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक मीन्स सेकेंड न्यूरॉन के बीच में इट मे बी दैट देयर इज साइनेप्टिक लेफ्ट मतलब वो एक गैप जैसा maybe or may not be there. Just three things that presynaptic neuron, postsynaptic neuron, and the synaptic cleft constitutes the synapse. There are two types of them. एक तो electrical होगा या फिर chemical synapse होगा. Electrical है, so there would be very less gap. ठीक है, like it is said right here कि see और the pre and postsynaptic neuron are in very close proximity या फिर इसमें कोई गैप होगी ही नहीं या फिर बहुत क्लोज होंगे so electrical current can flow directly from one to another and इसकी वजह से it looks like कि the impulse is transmitted in the it just looks like कि वो एक ही एक्सॉन से पास हुई है like एक एक्सॉन में कैसे वो conduct होती है it just looks like that it is very similar to the impulse conduction along a single axon और impulse जो है impulse transmission जो है across this electrical synapse always faster होगी than the chemical one क्योंकि chemical कब वो impulse आएगा कब synaptic vesicle fuse होगी ठीक है वो सब में थोड़ा टाइम लगता है तो इलेक्ट्रिकल synapses are faster और ये रेयर भी होती है। इलेक्ट्रिकल साइनैप्स रेयर होगी बॉडी में। मैंने एक एग्जांपल नोट किया है वैसे, विच इज़ योर ब्रेन स्टेम। अगर ये कभी मिलती है तो ये बस ब्रेन स्टेम में, कई बार रेटिना ऑफ आई में भी मिल जाता है। इसका ये एग्जांपल है ब्रेन स्टेम। ठीक है। At a chemical synapse, the membranes of the pre- and postsynaptic neurons are separated by the fluid-filled space or synaptic cleft. Synaptic cleft, is it a free space? No, it is fluid-filled. Do you know how the presynaptic neuron transmits an impulse or action potential across the synaptic cleft to the postsynaptic neuron? Chemicals called neurotransmitters. See, I told you. Neurotransmitters are involved in the transmission of the impulses, all these synapses. The axon terminal contains the vesicle filled with neurotransmitters. When an impulse or action potential arises at the axon terminal, it stimulates the movement of the synaptic vesicle towards the membrane where they fuse with the plasma membrane and releases the neurotransmitter in the synaptic cleft. The released neurotransmitter binds to the specific receptors present on the postsynaptic membrane. This binding opens ion channels, allowing the entry of the ions, which can generate a new action potential in the postsynaptic neuron. New potential developed may be excitatory or inhibitory. Basically यहाँ पे क्या बोला है कि when the impulse reaches the axon terminal ना, यहाँ पे आपके axon terminal पे there is your नहीं calcium gated channels यहाँ पे there are your calcium gated channels. So जब आपका यहाँ पे सिग्नल्स आएगा ना, तब ये जो कैल्शियम है ये अंदर चला जाएगा, ड्यू टू विच ये जो न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर है, ये साइनाप्टिक वेसिकल है ना, ये फ्यूज हो जाएगी मेम्ब्रेन के साथ और यहाँ से आपकी न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर रिलीज हो जाएगी, इसी से सिनेप्टिक वेसिकल में जो है उसमें से। और जैसे ही ये रिलीज होंगे, दे विल फाइंड द रिसेप्टर ऑन द पोस्ट सिनेप्टिक न्यूरॉन। आगे वाले पे इसके ट्रांस रिसेप्टर्स लगे हुए होंगे इस न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर के लिए। And then again action potential next neuron में generate होगी and the same will follow. Now यहाँ पे the new potential may be excitatory and may be inhibitory. इसका मतलब है कि जो मैसेज आया है, या तो ये जो न्यूरॉन जिसने अभी रिसीव किया है सिग्नल को, इट कैन एक्साइट इटसेल्फ या फिर इनहिबिट भी कर सकता है ड्यू टू द न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर। अब यहाँ पे जो ये न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर है, इट कैन बी ऑफ टू टाइप्स, इसी से हमको आइडिया लग गया था। इट कैन बी एक्साइटरी as well as it can be inhibitory. अब अगर ये एक्साइटरी है तो इसका एग्जाम्पल होगा आपका ACH एसिटाइल कोलिन। एक हो गया आपका एपिनेफ्रिन जिसको हम एड्रेनालाइन भी बोलते हैं। एक हो गया आपका नॉर एड्रेनालाइन या फिर नॉर एपिनेफ्रिन। ठीक है। इनहिबिटरी का मैं बोलूँ तो ए होता है आपका गावा। यस, गावा इसका एक फुल फॉर्म भी होता है, बट एज माई टीचर टोल्ड दैट्स नॉट वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। देन यहाँ पे एक है आपका डोपामिन Again, important. It's important, okay? Serotonin. ठीक है, ये तीनों और ये। और एक आपको बस याद रखना है, देयर इज सम डिजीजेस। ठीक है, इसमें दो डिजीजेस हमको याद रखने होते हैं। पहला इज योर अल्जाइमर्स, अल्जाइमर्स, and second is your Parkinson. Parkin, अब ये दो है क्या? So first one is a disease which occurs due to low amount of ACH. Second बनता occur होता है due to the low amount of dopamine. Dopamine. ठीक है, दोनों में से एक पार्किंसन का ये फीचर है कि इट इज़ जेनेटिक एज वेल एज उसमें अनकंट्रोलेबल मूवमेंट्स होती है। दैट मीन्स इफ यू डोंट वांट योर हैंड टू बी रेज्ड, स्टिल इट वुड रेज। सो दैट्स दिस पार्किंसन एंड द अल्जाइमर्स। ये दो पे पीवाईक्यूज आए हुए हैं, दैट्स व्हाई आई सेड दिस। So that's it for today's video. If you like it, kindly like my video so that I will get some motivation to post another one. Of course, if you didn't, still I would, but I will feel very happy if you did. Let me know if you want my handwritten notes for your preparations. And about part, this part I'll do this on this date. Today is 15, so I'll do it on 16, and most probably I would post it till 9 p.m. So that's it for today. Please like my video. I'll get some motivation too.